KOUJ1071, KOUJ.org. It is 8 p.m., so you know what time it is. It is our interview time of the night, and absolutely my favorite time of the night here at KOUJ, because we get to talk to people and learn more than just about the music. We get to learn about the people. We have in studio with us Miss Kayla Nichols. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Man, it is so... I don't even know how to put this words to see you now because you have like all grown up. For those you don't know, I've known Kayla since she was in like junior high doing worship back at Victory Church. And now you're out on your own and still doing music. So tell us about the last, 16 years I've not seen you.
Oh man, that could be a very long story. But yeah, so about 5 years ago, I decided to move out to Northern California to kind of a smaller town called Redding, California, to go to a ministry school out there, Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. And I went out there to kind of discover more about myself from God's perspective and to get more equipped. I really felt God tell me that he wanted me to follow him out there because he was going to equip me for the things that I'm called to do with music. And so, so I've been in Redding for the last 5 years. I went through 3 years of the ministry school there and really just gave myself to really kind of discovering more about myself and what he was specifically wanting me to step into with music. And so that's a lot of what I'm doing right now, is really pursuing full-time this music that God is calling me to go after. So
cool, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So with getting into the music scene, you now have went to, I say, a genre of more blues rock. Would I be right? So talk about that, because that's not, most kids aren't getting into the blues rock, which I love, by the way.
Yeah.
Huge fan of it. I don't know if you've heard of Eric Van Zant's new song that came out this year. We will let you hear it later because it is kind of your style of music. But
cool.
He's actually from Seventh Time Down. He broke off, went into his own thing.
Nice.
And so I was like, wow, this is cool that this is coming out. So what took you to that genre of music?
I've done several genres over the last...
I've seen the videos. By the way, you rap also too. Are we going to get some of that tonight? Not to throw you like
I don't know
on
about
the
that.
mark or nothing, but
I don't know about that. Maybe. Yeah, so I've stepped into a lot of different genres. I'm a multi-instrumentalist, so I play a lot of different instruments and love a lot of different styles of music, and so that's why I've kind of stepped into different genres. I never planned on doing blues rock music. It was something that was very inspired by God. About 2 years ago, I was just doing acoustic indie folk music, and I was actually playing in the bars all around Redding. Ever since I started writing music, I've always pictured myself singing my music to people who are in search of hope in life.
Right.
A couple years ago, I was doing indie folk music and I was playing in bars around Redding, and then I was hanging out with one of my friends, and out of nowhere she gave me this word from God, and she said, I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but I really feel like you're going to play electric guitar, and I feel like God is saying you're going to step into the rock genre, and he's going to give you connections with people in the rock genre. And this was pretty wild too, but she also told me, I see you playing this really fancy bluish colored electric guitar.
Right.
And she told me this wasn't even on my radar. I remember sitting there and going, what are you talking about? But it was interesting because when I was a teenager and I wanted to transition into playing guitar, electric was the first thing I wanted to play.
Right.
Aerosmith was like one of my favorite bands as a teenager, so I loved rock and roll music and kind of had this dream as a teenager to be a rock star, to be in the rock and roll genre, but I just never really pursued it. I think because I subconsciously believed that electric guitar would be too hard for me to play. So anyways, when she told me this, I was like, this is pretty crazy. Nobody else knows about this, so this has to be God, right? And so I just became curious about it, and I was like, okay, this kind of feels like God is telling me this is available to me if I want to step into it. And I almost feel like I would regret it if I didn't explore it, So someone actually ended up giving me an electric guitar to start out on for free, and I sat down and started playing it, and when I sat down and started playing it, it literally was like God downloaded me with the ability to play blues, because I had never listened to blues. I had never played blues. I'd never studied it ever. I couldn't even name a blues artist. But all of a sudden, all these riffs were popping into my head, and I was just playing them on guitar. And I remember sitting on my floor going, I don't know how to play guitar like this. I don't even know how this is happening. Like, it was literally like I just got gifted with it.
Right.
And so about half of my songs that are on my Illusion album that I just released a month ago, I wrote within the first month of playing electric guitar.
Wow.
And it all just came to me. Like, God was just giving me the guitar melodies, and I was playing them, and then I was coming up with vocal melodies and 12-bar blues and writing them down and singing them, you know? And so playing blues was definitely not something I planned. It was something I was drawn into in a lot of ways. Ever since then, basically everything this girl told me has happened, which is so crazy. Yeah, this past April, my dad sent me a text message randomly with a picture of this bluish colored D'Angelico electric guitar. And my dad has been a really big influence for me with this music because he knows a lot of blues artists. So when I first sent him one of the songs I was writing, he was like, oh my gosh, you're writing blues. So he started sending me people to listen to. He was like, you need to listen to B.B. King, you need to listen to Gary Clark Jr., all these people. And so he sends me a picture of this guitar back in April, and I open it up on my phone, and I'm like, no way. Because he didn't even know about this, right? Yeah, so I texted him, and I was like, that's amazing, you know? And he was like, happy early birthday, this will be on your doorstep in 2 days. Like, just was inspired to pick out this color and everything. Right. And I was like, this is so crazy. This girl told me that God was going to do this, and it happened, you know? So that's kind of the short version of the story of how I got into this music. It's honestly still very shocking to me, like, coming into somewhere like this and sitting down and playing these songs. I'm like, I literally didn't plan on doing any of this, and all of it has happened, you know? So
that is awesome. It's been awesome and insane, and it's a perfect time, like you said. It's just like, you didn't know it was coming, and then bam.
Yeah, and it really, you know, blues rock and roll, it's not a style that very many people my age are doing anymore, it feels like, especially with the blues vibe to it. It feels like a very old school style of music that is very authentic, very instrumentally excellent. When I listen to old school rock and roll, when I listen to blues rock, it's incredible the way that these artists did their instrumentation. And in a lot of ways, today we have so much technology, we have all these things where it's so easy to make everything perfect, everything computerized, which is amazing. We have incredible pop music right now. We have incredible EDM music that's happening and blowing up, and it's amazing. But at the same time, I think my generation more than ever is craving something authentic because it's so easy to click on the auto.
And let me tell you about my generation. We're ready for that generation to come back because in the music scene, like, I totally gave up on listening to any new music for the longest time because it was so dubbed over, and it was like there was no originality to music. It was gone, you know. And I was like, and everybody that grew up listening to 80s, early 90s music, like, musicians really strive to be the best they could be.
Yeah.
Like, their instruments, the guitar work, the leads, everything was really polished.
Yeah.
And then 2000s come, and everything was, like you said, all the technology came in, and then everything was being like half fake, half real. You know, and it became it's so easy. We'll just overdub it with some computer beats here. Yeah. And, you know, and even now with a lot of the drummers, there's a full acoustic drum set up with the drum. Drum computer here box that they're using it for overlaying beats and stuff. And it's like, what happened to real authentic music?
Yeah, you can produce an entire album with software instruments, you know, and that was, you know, if you're not careful, like, you really, as an artist, you have to value and protect that originality and the authenticity and not losing that. It can be easy to go, oh, I can just make a great song and have it sound great, you know what I mean? But for me personally, I actually will refuse to sit down and write a song or even work on a song unless my heart is in it. Like, if I feel like I'm doing it from a place of just trying to create something great, that sounds great, I won't even touch it because I know that it has to have the passion in it. It has to have the heart in it. That was something I really wanted to go after with this album because it is such an old school, unique sound. And when I listened to a lot of the old school artists in this genre, all of it was real, you know? And I was like, I can't sit down with someone and try to produce this with software instruments. It will literally suck the soul out of it. So that was something I really felt inspired by, that I wanted to do with this album, was get together with instrumentalists and orchestrate the songs out and actually do all of it real and use all real instruments and have all the parts be real. I listen back to the album now and I'm so glad I did it that way, because I feel so great that I can listen to these songs and to go, this is all real. This is all real stuff played by real people, and it's excellent and it's fun, you know, and it has the heart and everything in it, and I wouldn't have done it any other way.
Awesome. Well, cool. We're going to get to one of your songs here. We're going to play and she brought her guitar, people, so we're going to have some live songs. But before we do, this is off her album, and this is Illusion. Real quick, give us a quick one over about this song, Illusion.
Yeah, so Illusion is the highlight track off of my album, and this song is actually a breakup song that I wrote. It's the first breakup song I ever wrote, but I didn't actually write it about a person. I wrote Illusion about breaking up with things that you think will give you a real experience of love or life, but are actually just an illusion. So it's almost like a song about choosing to walk away. Like there's a part in the song where it says it's time for me to go my own way. So it's almost like turning from these things that you think are going to be fulfilling but are just an illusion and actually walking into life. And so, yeah, that's what that song is about.
Awesome. This is Kayla Nichols, Illusion, on KOUJ 1071, KOUJ.org.
Come on. Awesome.
KOUJ 1071, KOUJ.org, Kayla Nichols with Illusion, her first single off the new album, I can say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I love it. So, did you write all the music to this song? So this is all you're writing here, or did you have help? Or
I wrote all of the lyrics. I wrote the structures for the songs, orchestrated all of those. Some of the instrumentation, I figured that out in rehearsals with my band. So some of my band members would throw out some ideas for the different instrumental parts. Most of it, because I play multiple instruments, most of it I orchestrated. And
Doc and I was listening to it when you sent it up to us earlier, and we were like, that is some extreme guitar work. It was like, that is slamming. You know, it just, you know, and again, you know, it's weird because I'm sure your parents over here know it just like I do. When I was thinking about you coming up here tonight, I was still thinking little Kayla Nichols from junior high. You know, and it's so weird, you know, and I was listening to music, and I was like picturing way back when, you know, in junior high, and I was going, that can't be the same little girl. So coming from you pretty much starting out doing worship in junior high to now playing the bar scene and stuff, I love the fact that you're able to go out there and do what you do and do it for the mass of the people to say.
Yeah.
So let's hear about your Jesus moment in your faith and stuff, and how you get to bring it about.
You know, the first time I actually encountered Jesus personally in a way to where Jesus became real to me was through music. And that happened to me when I was 13. At that time in my life, I was really, you know, I grew up in the church and everything, but I wouldn't say that Jesus was real to me. It was more like, oh, this is what I was raised in. This is what people are telling me, you know. So going into my teenage years and everything, I was really searching. I was searching for my identity. I was searching for something fulfilling. I was searching for a real experience of life, and I was trying to find it in different things, and nothing was fulfilling. I always felt empty. And then I had a face-to-face encounter with Jesus through music when I was 13, and it was so real to me that that was the moment that I gave my life to Jesus and to a relationship with him and stepped into that. And I never thought I would write music. I never thought I would sing or anything, but it was shortly after that I picked up guitar, and just in my bedroom was when I started writing songs. And I didn't even write it from a place of trying to write music. It just came out of me because it became an outlet for me, and it really became a place where I began to express God's heart through something. And it was really interesting because when I first started writing music, I always pictured that I was singing it to people who were in that same place I was, like searching for their identity, searching for their value, searching for hope in life. And I always wrote music from that place. And so I always knew when I started writing music that I was called to go into the mainstream industry. Yeah. I always knew that. I just had a huge heart for it, and I knew that I was meant to go to people who were in that same spot as me and to bring an experience to them, like an experience of his heart to them through music in the same way that I had experienced it, And so that was a big process for me over the last 10 years or so with music, just learning more about my identity and letting him really show me who I am and shape my sound. So this stuff, the blues rock, the rock and roll music, definitely feels like the music I was made to write. When I started writing it, I felt the most live I have felt than any other genre I wrote in. And when I picked up electric, I felt the most alive on that instrument versus any other instrument I played. So I knew, like, this feels the most like me. This feels like the music that I was like made to write, and everything up until this point has prepared me for this, As far as stepping into the mainstream music industry as a believer, it is definitely challenging. Something I've really asked God over the last 2 years over and over is, what does it look like for me to be relevant to people's humanity but not compromise my identity?
Right.
And I feel like that is the big question, because I feel like I haven't necessarily seen that portrayed very well by a lot of people. It doesn't feel like there are a lot of great examples of that. Sometimes it seems like people who are believers get into the industry and swing way over here to trying to be completely relevant and totally compromising their identity. Or it seems like we have people over here who swing all the way over to wanting so much not to compromise that they're not actually relevant to people who really, you know what I mean? It's almost like they isolate themselves and people aren't really even listening to them, And so I really asked God, what does it look like for me to sit in this balance of writing and creating music very strategically that is very relevant to people's humanity, but also isn't compromising my integrity and my values and my identity as a person.
So I know even here in Oklahoma, you tell people you're Christian, they first it's like, oh no, don't get that on me.
Yeah, I think everything you're talking about is definitely a very real thing that as someone who has a relationship with Jesus and believes in him, it is very challenging at times because that, a lot of people, maybe they had a bad experience in church. Maybe they had a bad experience with a person who told them that, they had a relationship with Jesus but treated them horribly. Right. All of these things. At the end of the day, I can tell someone all I want to, like, oh, this is what I believe and this is why. But at the end of the day, it's going to be how I treat a person. That's going to actually be their experience of the God that I believe in. And so for me, when it's like walking into meetings with people, walking into rehearsals with my band members, walking into venues to do shows, it's every person that I'm connected to, and whether it's in the studio, whether it's in a venue, whatever, that person is a person that I honestly believe has been set in the same room as me so that I can give them an experience of love from his perspective, whether they believe in him or not, or have had a good experience about him or not. It's my job is ultimately to show up and to walk in as his daughter and to love people the way that he loves people. So,
man, with knowing that, you ready to do some live music?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so what song are you going to do for us?
I'm going to do the third song off of my album. It's called Freedom for Your Soul, and it's probably one of my favorite songs on the album. How it ended up in the studio just is a really rockin' song with all the full band instruments. So I definitely recommend that people go back to the album and listen to the album version of this song because it's pretty killer and has a lot of killer guitar and trumpet parts and stuff in it. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Keep holding on to hope, but you're in your rope. Feeling way down, you don't wanna drum, but you got no other way to go. You're feeling like you're on your own, you have nowhere else to go. Training, try but can't seem to find the place that your heart can call home. Oh, but I know, yeah, I know where to find freedom for your soul. You keep searching for the key that can bring your mind relief. You put up a fight with all of your might, but can't rid yourself of unbelief. Oh, you beg and you plead, you're down on your knees. Oh, you try and you try everything, but nothing of it seems to set your heart free. Yeah. Oh, but I know, yeah, I know where to find freedom for your soul. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Ooh, there is freedom. Yeah, I said there is freedom. Can you feel it? There is freedom. Yeah, I said there is freedom. Freedom for your soul.
Wow, that was awesome. Very good, very good. So, wow, I can't wait to hear that on the full string of things there. So, playing live like this, and obviously that's where you get the birth of your music and stuff. Just you sit down with the guitar and working it and everything. So, first of all, let's tell everybody where they can go get your music.
Yeah, so my album Illusion is available on all music platforms. So you can stream it on Spotify, you can buy it on iTunes, download it on Apple Music, it's on YouTube, it's all over the place. So
Yeah. And she can also, you can book her as well to come play at your local gigs here in Oklahoma, throughout the United States, around the world. So where are you available at?
Yeah, so currently I'm living in Redding, California, Northern California. So my plan going into this new year definitely is to tour. I'm going to start with cities outside of Redding and then kind of bleed out from there. and yeah, just see what God kind of opens up for me and roll with it.
Man, it was so awesome to have you here tonight. It's about that time to wrap it up before we get out of here.
Absolutely.
But can we get one more love song out of you before you go?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. We're going to do one more song here, and then we'll wrap it up. And so, real quick, y'all, this is Kayla Nichols at KOUJ 107.1 FM, KOUJ.org.
All right, I'm going to do one of my favorite songs to play live off of my album, and it's called Ain't No Friend of Mine.
When I saw you, baby, I was blinded by your light. Oh, but then I got a good look at you, darling, and I knew you made a fool of my mind. Ooh, 'cause you ain't out to do me good, baby, no. No, you ain't no friend of mine. You're only out to steal my fortune, baby. Then you're gonna leave me high and dry. Oh, but I caught you red-handed, darling. Got you just in the nick of time. Ooh, 'cause you ain't out to do me good, baby, no. No, you ain't no friend of mine. Oh, yeah. But you never do me any harm. But baby, you are always wrong. Ooh, thought I'd find shelter in your arms. But now I know it's not where I belong. 'Cause you're a liar and a cheat who always had it out for me. You never ever change, so I'm going my own way. 'Cause you're just cycle and repeat this damage you've done to me. You never ever change, so I'm going my own way. You say you can set me free, baby, but you always leave me in a bind. Oh, you say you can give me everything I need, darling, but you never give me life. Ooh, 'cause you ain't out to do me good, baby, no. And you ain't no friend of mine. No, you'll never, 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 never do me any good, baby. No, you'll never be a friend of mine.
Woo, awesome. That was great. That is Miss Kayla Nichols in here with us on the Backstage Show. Thank you so much for coming out and being a part of it. Man, it is so cool to see you
Yeah, thank you for
again
having
after
me. I
all
appreciate
these
it.
years and stuff. And to see your family, of course. You know, I love these guys. But man, thank you so much. And what great music. And I love
you.
that the genre you went with. It's so refreshing to see people play real music.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, I think the world is hungry for real musicians again, and especially people of faith. You know, and that obviously that's what we're here for. That's what we're created for, is to love God and love people. And it is such a unique platform when you get to do it through music, because growing up as a teenager and as a kid, where my house was broken, parents were drug stuff, music was an outlet
Yeah.
for me, because you could break away from all the bad stuff around you and get lost in the music. So when there is somebody out there putting out positive music, man, it's a ray of hope in just that moment of time for them. So thank you again so much for doing what you're doing and for coming and hang out with us here on the
Yeah.
Backstage Show.
Thank you so
We're going to get back to the music. This is Chaotic Resemblance with Virtual Reality on KOUJ 1071, KOUJ.org.